Matt Millen's tenure as an NFL GM was interesting. The Lions were putrid under his regime. And in all honesty, that's probably an understatement. In this video, we are going to talk about his tenure with Detroit. It's an era in Detroit Lions history that most Lions fans probably just wish never happened. We need to take the good with the bad. And when it comes to this channel, I'm going to talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly of the teams that I root for, no matter how rough or good it gets. If you came to this video expecting me to just rip Matt Millen to shreds, then you're probably going to be a little disappointed. I'm going to point out what he did right and what he did wrong, and trust me, there is a lot that he did wrong, but we're going to try to talk about this in as neutral of a tone as we possibly can. So let's dive into this. Now, the first main topic we're going to go over is Matt Millen's trading ability or inability. And we're going to start off with some trades that he won, because he did win some trades, believe it or not. But don't get too excited, because there are a lot of trades that he lost in the end. In 2001, the Lions traded the 78th and 114th overall picks to the New York Giants for their 61st overall pick. The Giants drafted cornerback Will Peterson and defensive end Cedric Scott, and both of those players had unremarkable careers. The Lions used the Giants' 61st pick to draft three-time Pro Bowler Shawn Rogers. That's a win. The Lions absolutely won that trade. In 2002, the Lions traded Brendan Sty to the Redskins for a 5th-round pick, and it ended up being the 144th overall pick. The Lions used that pick to draft James Davis, who was a linebacker, and he gave the Lions 40 games, 150 combined tackles, 10 tackles for loss, and 3.5 sacks. Sty only played 5 games for the Redskins. It's not a big win, but a win's a win. James Davis was an overall unremarkable player, but Sty gave nothing to the Redskins, honestly, while Davis at least gave the Lions 40 games. It's not a big win, like I said, but it is a win. In 2004, the Lions traded the 36th and 105th overall pick to the Chiefs for the 30th overall pick. The Lions drafted Kevin Jones, who was a running back, and he had a solid rookie season. The Chiefs drafted Junior Seavee, who only played 4 seasons in the NFL and only 2 with the Chiefs, and Sammy Parker, who had 7 receiving touchdowns in 47 career games. Kevin Jones was again a mostly unremarkable running back outside of his rookie season, but there's a very solid case that the Lions got more production out of Jones than the Chiefs got out of Seavee or Parker. Again, it's not a big win, but it is a win. And the last notable trade that I want to go over that the Lions, in my opinion, won was in 2008 when the Lions traded a 2009 4th-round pick, which ended up being the 101st overall pick, and their 2008 111th overall pick to the Cowboys for the 92nd overall pick. The Lions used that pick to draft one-time Pro Bowl defensive end Cliff Averill. Averill had 3 8+ sack seasons for the Lions, and both of the players that the Cowboys drafted had unremarkable careers. That's definitely a win. Now, the Lions may have won more trades during the Matt Millen era, but these are definitely the notable ones that I wanted to go over. But, like I said, the Lions lost a lot more trades than they won during this time frame. So now it's time to talk about the trades they lost. Please keep in mind that just like on the trades that Matt Millen won, some wins are not as big as others. And just like with losses, some losses are not as big as others. But a loss is a loss. But starting in 2001, the Lions traded back in the draft with the 40th overall pick to the Patriots and acquired the 50th and 173rd overall picks. The Lions drafted Dominic Raiola, who was a punching bag among Detroit Lions fans, it felt like. I mean, I'm not going to rip on Raiola too hard because I respect the dude to an extent, and Jason Glenn never took a snap for the Lions, while the Patriots used the 48th pick to draft 3-time Pro Bowler Matt Light, and he was a key contributor to the Patriots winning Super Bowls. So that's definitely a loss. And then also in 2001, the Lions traded a 2002 fourth round pick, which ended up becoming the 101st overall pick, to the Browns for Ty Detmer. Detmer threw 7 interceptions in one game. Almost enough said. While Kevin Bentley had a solid but not great NFL career, I would have much rather had him than the quarterback that threw 7 interceptions in a game. In 2003, the Lions traded Avion Kaysen to the Cowboys for the 236th overall pick. The Lions used the 236th overall pick to draft Brandon Drum, who never took a snap in the NFL. Kaysen didn't really do too much for the Cowboys, but he did more for the Cowboys than Drum did for the Lions, so that's a loss. Things took a turn for the worst in 2004. The Lions traded back in the draft. They traded the 6th overall pick to the Browns for their 7th and 37th overall picks. The Lions used the 7th pick to draft Roy Williams, who had one good season, but outside of that one good season, he was mostly a bust. And Teddy Lemon, who played 4 seasons with the Lions and only had one productive season, while Kellen Winslow Jr. had many productive seasons in the NFL as a tight end. He only made 1 Pro Bowl, but honestly, you could argue he was snubbed at least once or twice. In 2005, the Lions traded the 41st and 105th overall picks to the Titans for the 37th overall pick. The Lions drafted nose tackle Sean Cody, who played 4 seasons with the Lions and was mostly underwhelming. And the Titans drafted a very solid tackle tandem in one-time first-team All-Pro Michael Roos and David Stewart, who started 116 games for the Titans. The Lions lost that trade. In 2007, the Lions traded their 176th overall pick and Dre Bly to the Broncos for the 158th overall pick and Tatum Bell and George Foster. The Lions used that Broncos draft pick to draft Johnny Baldwin, who never played for the Lions. Foster only played in 19 out of 32 possible games for the Lions, and Bell only played 12 out of 32 possible games for the Lions. Now, I will actually defend Matt Millen in this instance because I could see why he would want Tatum Bell, because he did have a 1,025-yard season prior to joining the Lions. Dre Bly ended up having a 5-interception season with the Broncos. Now, Bly only did that one time for the Broncos, but the Lions got pretty much nothing out of the players they acquired. And Dre Bly was a good cornerback for the Lions. I think he had an outburst about Joey Harrington or something like that, and he was starting to get labeled as a locker room cancer, but the Lions lost this trade. Absolutely. The players they got weren't available enough, and Dre Bly was still pretty good. And also in 2007, the Lions traded back in the draft. They traded the 34th overall pick to the Bills for the 43rd overall pick and the 74th overall pick. The Lions with the 43rd pick took Drew Stanton, and then they subsequently traded the 74th pick. And honestly, what happened when the Lions traded the 74th pick isn't really worth discussing because neither side really won or lost. And then the Bills drafted one-time Pro Bowl linebacker Paul Posluszny. Posluszny only made it to 1 Pro Bowl, but the players the Lions got didn't ever make it to 1, and it's hard to argue that they should have even been in any Pro Bowls. Then the last trades that I want to go over that the Lions lost during the Millen era are in 2008. There could be more, but these are the notable ones that I decided to go over. The Lions traded Shawn Rogers to the Browns for Leigh Bodden and the 87th overall pick. Rogers had a Pro Bowl season for the Browns with 75 tackles, 11 tackles for loss, and 4.5 sacks. The Lions used the 87th pick to draft Andre Fluellen, and he was underwhelming at best. Then Leigh Bodden played 1 season for the Lions and was mostly underwhelming. Also in 2008, the Lions traded back in the draft by trading the 15th and 76th overall picks to the Chiefs for the 17th, 66th, and 136th overall picks. The Lions used the 17th overall pick to draft Gosder Cherilus, who was underwhelming. Kenny Moore was drafted 136th overall, and he never played for the Lions. And the Chiefs went on to draft two-time Pro Bowl left tackle Brandon Albert with the 15th overall pick. So, like I said, the Lions lost a lot of trades during the Matt Millen era. They lost a lot more than they won. Here's a couple of trades that both parties ended up completely losing. Neither side won, but they both lost. In 2001, the Lions traded the 180th and 216th overall picks to the Patriots for the 149th pick. The Lions drafted Mike McMahon with the 149th overall pick, and he never passed for 1,000 yards in a season. The Patriots drafted Arthur Love, 180th overall, and he never took a snap in the NFL. And Owen Pochman, who was a kicker, didn't really pan out too much. In 2007, the Lions traded Josh McCown and Mike Williams to the Raiders for the 105th overall pick. The Lions used the 105th overall pick to draft A.J. Davis, who never played in the NFL. Mike Williams didn't even make it through the full season with the Raiders. And Josh McCown was mostly underwhelming. The only argument with these trades is who lost more, because in all honesty, both parties lost in these particular instances. This sequence of events right here is interesting because you can make an argument that the Lions basically gave a player away for free. It started on March 2nd, 2007. The Lions traded defensive end James Hall to the Rams for the 154th overall pick. Hall was by no means a world-beating defensive end, but he did have a 10.5 sack season for the Rams. So the Rams won that portion of this sequence of events. Then on April 29th, 2007, during the draft, the Lions traded the 154th overall pick back to the Rams along with the 139th overall pick for the 117th overall pick. The Lions drafted Manuel Ramirez, who played 18 out of 48 possible games in his first stint with the Lions. The Rams drafted Dustin Fry with the 139th overall pick, who only played 4 NFL games. And then the Rams drafted defensive tackle Clifton Ryan with the 154th overall pick, who played only 4 seasons in the NFL. So the Lions lost the trade trading for the 154th overall pick, but you can honestly argue that both parties lost when the 154th overall pick was traded back to the Rams. But do you see what I mean? The Rams ended up with more assets than the Lions ended up with in this particular trade, or in this particular sequence of events. So the Lions basically gave a player away for free. James Hall is by no means a consistent all-pro caliber player or anything like that, but we basically gave a player away for free. I don't even know what to say about this sequence of events that occurred, honestly. So this is going to conclude part 1 because there's a lot to talk about during the Matt Millen era. Hopefully I didn't bash him too hard. Hopefully I stayed as neutral as I could. I don't know if that's what y'all wanted, but I don't know. In the second part, I'm probably going to talk about his drafting a bit more than I did in this video. I talked a lot about the trades he made on draft day and whatnot, but you can't possibly talk about the Matt Millen era without talking about the actual draft picks and the draft classes as a whole. I guess be sure to stay tuned for part 2. That will be all for this video. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed.